It's okay. It takes
Welcome back to
time.
Strong, everybody. I'm
I
so excited to
know
bring another
that
amazing
you'll be
guest. Just before
alright.
we introduce our next guest, if you're a parent, I want you to sit down and really digest this conversation that we're about to have. Tonight, we're going to be speaking with Meredith. She's 15 years old and is bravely here to share her story of anorexia nervosa. As a mom myself, I know that I'm definitely going to be listening and I'm going to be digesting everything Meredith tells me. So, for anybody watching this right now, if you do have a young child next to you, please have a conversation with them after this episode and really use this episode as a learning moment. If you are somebody watching this struggling with an eating disorder, I hope that this episode and Meredith's story is going to inspire you to find help and reach out for help. And I know we're going to be talking about that. Meredith, I'm so honored that you chose to be here with me today. And I'm so honored that you chose to trust us with your story. And I know that there's a risk that I'm going to be listening to you and feeling very emotional because I had a daughter who also had an eating disorder when she was 16 years old. And that journey for us was a very emotional family journey. And she's not with me today, not because of her eating disorder, but because of her mental health that was triggered from an eating disorder. Whatever we talk about in this conversation, Meredith, I want you to understand that this is not just a conversation. This is a real learning moment. And I want to thank you from really from the bottom of my heart to say thank you because conversations like this need to happen for change to happen. Conversations like this need to happen so that young people and parents and educators and community members know what to look for and they know how to support young people going through these issues. Let's start right at the beginning. What's it like to be 15 years old and living in the US through a global pandemic right now?
It's kind of hard right now because of school and everything. And a lot of my friends, their parents are really strict around this COVID. And so I can only see like a couple of them. And it's hard right now because all I want to do is go back to school. And I the other week we started going back to school, but we have like these 3-week rotations. So like I'm in group C and there's like A, B, and C. So I went we started with group B, and then they went 1 week, and then I went the next week, and then group A is going this week. And then so we just have like these 3 rotations. And it's really odd because like I've never been to high school before. So um and then I guess there's a lot of things that I wish I could do, but like this pandemic is just like stopping it, cuz like I just want to like now that I can actually like enjoy things like without being bombarded by my eating disorder. Like all I want to do is like go out and enjoy things with my friends, and like it's hard to do right now. So
What were some of those favorite things that you did on a typical day before the pandemic?
um well, I like to go hang out with my friends a lot, and we would go to like each other's houses all the time, and we would go like out in public, and we would go to movies, and we would just like we'd go have fun, and I would go to school, and that is not normal anymore at all. So,
I know mental health is a real concern for educators and parents around the world. Mental health of young people through this pandemic. On the one hand, we are struggling to keep everybody health and safe and physically health and safe. And on the other hand, we're really struggling to support young people with feelings of isolation and depression. Do you see that as an issue amongst your peers? Do you see that the pandemic is causing young people to feel alone, disconnected, and not really able to come out of their shell as they would, as sort of as you described in your pre-COVID hobbies?
I do think that the COVID has caused a lot of like self-isolation and like depression because all you want to do is like if you're feeling upset or down, all you want to do is go talk to your friends and like go sit and laugh with them, but like you can't do that because like you're I guess on lockdown. And actually an example is my brother. He went to college last semester and he was by himself 24/7. Like he couldn't go he didn't have any classes. All he went was to the cafeteria, but they had to go. And so he was isolated the whole time. So he's been struggling with a bunch of that and a bunch of depression because like it's hard because all you want to do is talk to people, but you can't. And so like I just wish that like we could just talk to people like in person because it's hard to do this whole like over the phone thing. It's just not the same. Yeah.
It is hard. You're right. You're absolutely right. There's a real need to be connecting in a physical presence, that you struggle to have through these digital platforms. Meredith, if I were to ask you at such a young age, I know it's a really hard question to ask you, but if I were to ask you to sum up who is Meredith, how would you respond to that?
I feel like all my life this I've always been really hardworking and it's never really changed because of like all that I've been through. Like I've always been a hard worker and I've always been a kind friend. Like I try my best and I try my best to be nice to everyone and I usually am. It's just hard sometimes with my family because I get so comfortable with them that I just so it's hard to like keep my emotions in with them. Um, but I feel like I've always been an outgoing person, like a social butterfly. Like I was always in middle school, like I'd always make the whole class laugh. Like I'd always like feel good making everyone smile and I like to give compliments. And it was just like so pleasing to me to like, help people and to make people smile. Like I just like that about myself. Like I like to help people. I like to give things to people. I like to make things and give them to people to show them that I care about them.
How young were you when you started to realize that helping people was very important to you?
I think about it was a really young age, around like maybe 7 or 8. I just got like a feeling of happiness around it. So
And would you say that that feeling of wanting to help people and wanting to please people to make them feel happy almost became who you were to a point where you were overthinking how other people were thinking about you?
I do think it kind of started to take over me and started to control me because all I wanted to do was help people and like make them smile. And then if I messed up, I was like, oh my, like, what have I done? And I just got really upset. And I don't want people to think of me badly because I don't like it when people are mad at me or when people think of me like badly. So I just want like everyone to think of me like, oh, that's Meredith. She's so nice. Like, I just get nervous that people are going to be like turning the things that I accidentally do around and making them who I am. But I do think that I get nervous a lot and I overthink things that other people say or do around me. So,
why do you feel so worried about what other people think about you? Why is that something that you're worried about? And why do you feel that what somebody else thinks about you is more important than what you know about yourself?
I think as a kid, I was like, when we were really young, all of my friends and I, we'd always be together, we'd always include each other. But as we started to grow up, I started being like the friend that, like, here's the whole friend group in the circle. I started to be the friend like outside who would always be outside the lines, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, sorry, I can't talk right now. Like, people would talk in front of me, like, about what they're gonna do this afternoon with their own friends. And I just always felt like a sense of being left out. And I just wanted to start to please people. And I didn't, so it really meant something to me for people to think highly of me. So I just always wanted to please people, and I never wanted them to think badly of me.
I'm so sorry you felt that way, Meredith. And what you're describing is something that I hear quite often from young teenagers. Why do you think that happens? So take us, because as an adult, we look at young people and think, why aren't they getting along? Why is it so hard to make friends? And I know that we're so disconnected from what's really happening in those friendship circles. And I really appreciate the visual you gave us about the circle and then you being on the outskirts. And that's such an excellent visual for what that feels like. But take us on the inside for a parent watching this, for an educator watching this. We look at it from the outside thinking maybe they're over dramatizing what that really feels like. Maybe they've said something, maybe they've done something. But I know it's not like that because it's so hard. And I see this, I hear this. Describe to us what it's really like so that we can understand as adults how to help young people who are also struggling with trying to fit in and trying to find their place and connect with friends.
I think in middle school, when I would get in the car from being picked up from school, my mom would be like, oh, how was your day? And then I would tell her, oh, it was so good. And then, but in the back of my head, I'd be like, I was so left out, but I don't want to tell my mom because I don't want to disappoint her, because I want her to think that I'm so included with things, that I can be like a good kid and nobody disincludes me in anything or excludes me. Um, so some kids, it depends. Like, some don't really tell the whole truth, and that was me. And we try to like make it seem like we're okay, like we're all fine, like we get invited to things, but we're never really like invited, if you know what I mean. Like, we're never really like the talk. We can never really like talk to people when we get invited. We're always like on the outskirts. And I think it's hard because parents never know, and sometimes they don't understand, like, oh, why can't you just like go talk to them? Like, well, it's because like I feel like they don't want to talk to me. Whenever I do talk to them, they just like talk to me like for a second and then go turn and talk to their other friends. And I think it's really hard because like parents don't really know what to do because they want to help their children. And sometimes the children are like, oh, everything's fine. So
Who decides these friendship circles? Who decides who is going to allow you in and who is not? Like I'm trying to understand where all this gets decided. Is it a moment in time? Is it something that progressively happens? How does it happen? And who just like who's in the power position that makes that ultimate decision? And how do the other young people decide that they're going to behave that way?
um Well, I think that there used to be like some like main people in the group who would not like not let me in, but not tell everyone to not let me in. But I don't know, it's hard to explain. Like there are I guess not really leaders, but like the people who are like the most like worshipped and like the ones who people want to be friends with mostly in that friend group. But I think like it's just the whole friend group that doesn't want you to like fit in. Like you don't really fit in with their personality even though you try to change for them, but it doesn't really work because they don't want you in there with you. So
You know, there's so much talk in the world right now with young people and for young people about standing out. Don't try to fit in. You know, you're born to stand out, I think is a common quote that we hear a lot of. How truthful is that when you're a teenager trying to make friends?
I think some people just have that ability to stand out, and because they're so confident and they stand out and they make friends easily. I try to have that mantra in me. Like I try to have that confidence and it does work sometimes. And other times it's really hard to stand out because if like if you had it's hard because here's an example. In my first day of high school, I didn't know that no one was supposed to I guess it wasn't like the thing to bring like lunch boxes. So I brought a lunchbox on my first day of school, and everyone else just put their food in their bags or had brown paper bags. So I went home and I was so upset with myself because I stood and I didn't want people to notice that I was weird and that I brought my lunchbox. And I just sometimes it's good to stand out. And I'm not saying it's not good to stand out. Sometimes we feel as teenagers it's not good to stand out, but it always is good to stand out. We just feel like we're not going to make friends or fit in if we don't stand out. But that is the bottom line is that's how we stand out because people are like, oh, I want to be friends with them. They seem so much fun because we stand out and we want to be friends with them.
So when you think back to those really difficult times in making friends, and here you are today, so confidently having this interview with me, so brave to have this interview with me. And you know that this will be shared, and you know that you will stand out for being confident. So to be at this place right now, you have shown great resilience, you've shown growth, you've evolved as a person, and you want to help other people. How did you get here? Because you don't just wake up and get to a confidence level like this. It's developed. You grow within you. So what are some of your tips, something that you can offer to a younger person watching this and think, you know what? I did it. I made it. I struggled through those friendship circles and here I am today. So you can do it too.
I think growing up, we always heard that saying you were born to stand out, you weren't born to fit in. And as a kid, I was like, no, I want to fit in with everyone. So I want to be included. I don't want to be the weird kid that stands out and it's not included. But as I started to grow up, I started realizing that everyone stands out in their own way and we try to fit in. Um, it just like we're not really made to fit in. We're all different, and it helps sometimes if you picture yourself um having fun and in the future, and you just picture yourself being confident in yourself and you just have to have confidence in yourself. Like, if you don't have confidence, then you're not going to go anywhere, because it's hard to have confidence because most people, I guess it's hard for them to have confidence too. And having confidence is also a way of standing out too, because sometimes it can seem like, oh, like they're so stuck up, but they're not, because they're just confident. And it's hard to have that confidence because people put down that confidence.
I'm listening to you, Meredith, and I'm thinking, how are you 15 years old? You're just, you're so incredibly wise and you're just so composed. I'm thinking back to when I was 15. There's no way I could have been able to express myself the way that you are today. And I'm just so honored that you're here. Is it okay if I take you on a journey back to 2019? Tell us what happened in 2019.
Um, well, in 2019, it was in the summer, I was diagnosed with anorexia nervosa, and I'd known that for a while. I just, the shock of like, whoa, like now everyone knows it. Because I'd been having problems. I was um, 13 at that time. I'd been having problems since the beginning of eighth grade, which was like all of 2018, because I'd been having like comments to me, and also that feeling of control, because like some things I just couldn't control in my life, like my friends, it was just hard because I would also like still being feeling like I was left out. So I just started like to fall into like my eating disorder, and like things started like happening, and like I felt like people were liking me more, but that was not the truth. I just felt like, oh, wait, I'm getting more comments, like let's keep going. So like things started getting worse, and in 2019, like the summer after eighth grade ended, that's when things like started to hit really hard, um because like I wasn't seeing anyone, and I was like isolating myself, and all I wanted to do was um like go exercise, and like my like habits had grown really strong. And so I was diagnosed the on July 18th, which is the day before my birthday. So it wasn't a very good birthday. I think it was late August, things just started like getting like really, really bad. Um, and like I just wasn't like stable anymore. So we got a dietitian, and like she's like, okay, we're gonna start off slow. Here's what you're gonna do. So I went to her for 1 week, and I came back and I was like, yep, I did everything you wanted me to. And then the next week, 1 week went by, and then the next week we came back, and I was like, yep, I did everything you wanted me to. And in reality, that wasn't the truth. I didn't do anything she wanted me to. And in that office, I just kind of broke down, and I was like, I lied to you. Like, I didn't do it. Like, I'm sorry. So I had an appointment with them um, on late August, or I guess mid August. This was all around mid August before school started. So I went to get like evaluated. Like they took me in the room with me and my parents, and we think that it would be best for Meredith to go into our inpatient facility. And I was just like, I froze up and I turned around. And I'm not a person who cusses. Like, I don't do that. So, like that, like I blew up and I cussed everyone out. It was bad. I got so upset. And then that night I went home and I was like, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. So like I um I kind of I tried to eat a lot and it didn't feel good because I hadn't been giving my body what it needed. Um so I ate too much for my body to handle, and the next day like it was awful. And then that morning I woke up and I was just um like I was just like throwing up and everything, and it was awful. And so she came over and then I was just not doing well.
Meredith, what's different for you today now that you're recovering from anorexia nervosa?
That I found out that like I used to think like working out and not eating um was me. Like my eating disorder was me. But that's not me. Like I'm so much more than my eating disorder. And an eating disorder is not an identity. Like that's a mental health disease and it's not pretty. And I am Meredith and my eating disorder is separate. And I don't need to be like that anymore. And I've realized that there's so much more than weight loss and being praised to being thin. And it's hard because we do live in this like society of diet culture and like praising weight loss, and it is really hard because like all you want to do is listen to them and like but reject the status quo. It's really hard because like all you want to do is just go off what everybody else says. And like I found that I needed to just work on myself and I needed to block everyone else out. And I had to do this for me.
When I look at you and I hear what you're saying to me, I see a beautiful, confident, incredibly wise 15-year-old. What do you see when you look at yourself in the mirror?
Sometimes it's harder than others. Like sometimes I'll be really confident. I'll be like, oh my goodness, like look at you, like you're so confident, you're beautiful. Then other days, like it'll be hard because like my eating disorder would be yelling at me. And so some days it is hard that like I can't see what I see because your eating disorder changes like your perspective of like you and what you look like. It changes like your mind, it messes with it so like it can stay in control. And I just have to realize that. So I do mostly like I um I do see like a confident girl that likes helping people, and I love my blog that I have on Instagram. Um and it really helps me a lot because I get all these messages like saying like you've helped me like so much, and it makes me feel so happy. Um and all I want to do is just like be confident and like show people that like I can be confident. So
Is it still important to you what people think about you?
I think as a teenager, there's always going to be a little part of me like, don't do this because like people are going to think you're weird. Like, so I do think I do care about what other people think of me. But other times, I do like to stand out and I like to be myself. And I like to be like the funny one in class, or I like to like make everyone else laugh. And sometimes I don't think, I guess I don't think that what other people think, that's, I shouldn't care about that, because like only what I think is what I need to think about. I don't need to think about what anyone else thinks. It's just me, because I'm my own person and nobody else can change like myself, because like I say, like I am the main character, like everyone else, they can't change my plot. So
When I grow up, I want to be you, Meredith. I think you're incredibly inspiring. Why are you here telling us your story? Why did you decide to share with Strong?
um well, I looked at y'all's website and I thought it was like so amazing, and I wanted to share my story on here because I wanted it to be heard, and I want to help other people who have the same feelings and who are going through the same things, whether like it's an eating disorder or just a barrier of depression. Like I want to be able to help people.
And you did just that today, Meredith. You've helped so many. Thank you so much. I'm just, I'm just in awe at the incredible young lady in front of me. Thank you for being here, and thank you for finding resilience through your challenge and sharing your story with us. I know there are parents watching this worried about their own young teenagers. What would you want them to know if they're struggling through this with their children, or if they're worried that they potentially could have children struggling with an eating disorder?
I think the most important thing is parents always are like, just eat. But it can't be like that. Or if it's depression, like just be happy. It's not like that. Like parents sometimes they don't understand it, like it's not something you can just like flip a switch and everything can be better. Like we need talks and we need help, and we need parents that are help and they need to understand us, because if our parents aren't supportive or helping us, then we're not going to get anywhere, because the parents are where it starts. Like the parents, that's how I got my treatment, that's how I got my help, like that's how it helps.
I could talk to you forever. I can ask you so many questions, but I know we need to bring it to a close for today. That brings us to the end of another incredible conversation. Today we were speaking with Meredith. She's 15 years old, and she has a story that she is so passionately sharing to support young people all over the world. Tonight we learned about the challenges of making friends as a young teenager, the challenges of fitting in and trying to stand out, all of those things that we encourage our young people to try and do more of. Meredith gave us an insight into how we can support our teenagers and really some of the things that we should be looking out for. If you do have a teenager struggling with an eating disorder, we urge you to please find help. Reach out to somebody, a friend, a counselor, tell somebody, because by feeling supported, you're not on the journey alone. And I believe that that is so, so important. I'll see you all next week when we bring another guest to Strong.
You're not alone. I wanna tell you.